Unidos Deus, Agios Isqueros, Agios Athanatos, Eleis Aurimos. Agios Atheos, Agios Isqueros, Agios Athanatos, Eleis Aurimos. Agios Atheos, Agios Isqueros, Agios Athanatos, Eleis Aurimos. We have this morning a very dense teaching given by St. James in his typically muscular Jewish form. He gives us, as we say in French, coup sur coup, shots, and he, in this first shot, invites us in a few words to cultivate essentially three things. One is being slow to speak. The other is what flows from that, knowing how to listen. And the third is, linked with both, not being angry. Let us look at these three. To be angry is to let passion overrule reason. It is true that the Lord had a righteous indignation and with energy drove out contamination from his Father's house, but it was always a dignified and noble outburst, we would say, and yet it wasn't in any way an outburst out of control. It was a making a point with human dignity and force. And orators and preachers and politicians and teachers and lecturers can do the same thing, using all their faculties to make a point, but always in control. A person who is angry without being in control has some participation in the law of the jungle. And in the law of the jungle, it is the law of the strongest. The loudest voice, the most ferocious behavior wins. And the word ferocious comes from the word ferox, which is a wild beast, a wild animal. And therefore we are more and more similar to the animals than to Homo sapiens when we engage in that uncontrolled mode. And many disasters come from being in that mode for a while. At first one starts to become heated, and then only the winning is the thing seen, so that all else is jettisoned in view of getting that immediate victory. Many marriages are exploded in a rage. And indeed, when one looks at human history, many decisions are taken in some kind of rage and are left to be picked up when they have done their harm. And one reflects, if only I had foreseen the consequences of my heat. And in that mode of emission, one is rather like a volcano. A volcano is emitting so much heat and violence that there is little chance of anything getting through the smoke screen. So too we perceive little in the realm of new truths coming to us when we are emitting our volcanic lava. Hence it greatly handicaps any operation of listening. Another is that of tendentially speaking. And St. James here does say that. Remember this, my dear brothers, be quick to listen, but slow to speak. And then he goes on, and slow to rouse your temper. But the listener is the disciple. Discipulus. Disco is to learn. And the disciple is one who has everything to learn. One can question. Indeed, one sees the Lord as a child of 12, asking questions in the temple and giving wise answers. Therefore, one has the example from that holy infant of how to approach any contact with people who are humanly senior to us. One can listen and one can answer questions. One mystic way back in the Middle Ages was given this lesson by the Lord in prayer, by interior locution. It was this: he did not want her to speak except when questioned. And it was a mode that he was giving her, being on the receiving end. It's something that mutatis mutandis we can take with us. For a person who tendentially asks questions rather than immediately giving answers or opinions is being perpetually enriched by an augmentation of knowledge. Whereas if we speak, we are recycling. We are taking from what we have. A person who interrogates, who asks, who questions, learns more every time, on condition that he really asks so as to learn. And so the mode of exercising the art of conversation is precisely that of cultivating another art, the art of listening. The art of listening. They say that the art of spiritual direction is the ars artium, the art of arts, because it involves so much picking up. It's all done with the ear. And the ear then is the communication between the external and the internal. For the interior ear is the faculty of the soul that has to be exercised, using precisely the channel of listening. And it is important that that channel actually is open. A person who is deaf is severely handicapped in that realm. Fortunately speaking, from experience, it does cause problems when superiors in the monastic life especially are hard of hearing, because that fundamental communication then is blocked, sometimes quite dramatically. It is important that we be able to perceive even what a person is not saying. Therefore, that is the interior ear, but the exterior ear is not indifferent either. Therefore, we must remember that every time we opt to open the mouth, then we are blocking out new messages. And we have 2 ears and 1 mouth from the Creator, as though it were a hint. The proportion should be, for every 2 words received, 1 is allowed to be emitted. Which brings me to the final point, that of listening also on every level, a mode of being. Years ago, in retreat, I was meditating on the whole art of listening, because in retreat one is in listening mode. And these words came to me, reflecting on all the dysfunctional conversations that I might have had over the years, that it was all blocking the real communion. Too much coming out and not enough going in. And I decided in that retreat to try and adjust that, for in retreat one does make a concrete resolution, otherwise it's purely phantasmagorical, perfection in the air, so abstract, so heavenly minded that it's no earthly use. Things have to be concrete. And so this was what I reflected upon, and it was something which we can take with us, for in any true spiritual mode there is that element bound to be of letting the Lord be Lord in our worship. Whether it's in the nonconformist one, as in Wales, where one is spending a whole hour in a quiet receptive mode where the word is central, or whether it's in a Catholic or, for that matter, Eastern Orthodox mode where the liturgy elevates and gives us that atmosphere of being bathed in that otherness and that openness to it, in which the Lord directly in the heart is able himself to whisper a word. So just one or two lines to take with us today. When I behold the breath of many days that was on nothing spent, when I pay heed to sounds sent to the void, when I the rays of might see toward the night cast without need, then am I sad to see what had to be upon a moment lost, where tossed was all that was within, without. And so on it went. We tend to be outside ourselves and missing, tragically, the point. The art of listening. When I behold the breath of many days that was on nothing spent, when I pay heed to sounds sent to the void, when I the rays of might see toward the night cast without need. Then am I sad to see what had to be upon a moment lost, where tossed was all that was within, without. For now I see what mighty matters move on movements small. O Master, all is here. 'Tis here, the light, wherein alone thou'lt hide, for other than the space twixt lip and lip is nothing quite as wide as this that hides the whole of man. We are unblessed in messages ill sent, for in much sound was found not much well meant.